All right. Well, thank you for coming on to my YouTube channel where I interview thriller authors and anything under the umbrella of thriller. Sometimes people they get a little bit overthinking on it, and they're like, "Well, no, I'm not a thriller writer. I'm more of a mystery writer." I'm like, under the umbrella,
Right,
it's all
yeah.
thriller. You know,
Yeah, I don't consider myself a thriller writer either. But yeah, I get you.
yeah. So you're more of a mystery writer.
Yeah, but I don't like mystery either. Because
What do
mystery,
you call it?
yeah, I call it crime writer, just plain crime.
Yeah.
Um, when I hear mystery, I think Agatha Christie, and that's not my stuff either.
Right.
Um, I'm not a cozy mystery writer. I'm really a classic crime or a bit of hard boiled, even.
Right.
Um, so yeah, no, I mean those categories are kind of tiresome, really.
Yeah. I always, whenever somebody says, "What do you write?" and I always say, crime fiction or crime thriller,
Yeah, yeah,
because that's
exactly.
basically it's basically what I'm. I don't consider, like you said, I don't write cozies. I don't write just Agatha Christie mystery. I don't write stuff like that. I enjoy killing people in my books.
Yeah, I don't always kill them either. And so sometimes I slide into horror too.
Yeah.
What I call disquiet or quiet horror.
Okay. Yeah.
Kinds of Yeah, kinds of things where real life starts sliding,
Hmm.
and I mean the limit, the border between crime and horror is sometimes a little fuzzy,
Yeah.
and I like to play there.
Yeah, and I think readers enjoy that. They enjoy that. Um, I mean, unless you want to read about a cat solving murders and you're into cozies and stuff like that. I mean, if you're into, because for years I wrote horror. Everything I put out was promoted as horror, and then I realized, well, I'm actually writing a lot of noir. I'm writing a lot of crime fiction, and I I'm still writing mostly the same stuff. I just changed the the tag on it. You know.
Yeah, right. I mean, the first story I wrote and managed to sell, and I was like in my mid 20s, was a bit of a haunting story.
Hmm.
And there was a strong touch of Roald Dahl in it. It was a young woman, and she's unhappy in her marriage, and for some kind of reason, she's not thinking of divorcing. I don't know why, I just, whatever. And she decides to kill her husband by tricking down the staircase, and he falls down the staircase, but bad luck, he doesn't die. And she's stuck with him in a wheelchair for the rest of her life.
No.
I mean, that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So that was my first story. So
Huh?
I don't know if you call it horror. It's definitely crime,
Yeah. Yeah.
for
And
sure.
there's that mix. So as you're starting out, as you're writing, do you put those genre tags on stuff, or you just say, I'm just gonna write this story, and we'll call it whatever we call it.
Yeah, no, I'm not thinking about that. I'm really thinking about there's a character, there's a situation, and it goes wherever it wants to go. I don't necessarily have to kill somebody either.
Hmm.
It just goes whichever way it wants to go. Now, lately, I write more straight crime, where there's a body and
Right.
an investigation and maybe a detective or whatever. But sometimes I just slip into other stuff, and I don't think twice about it. Really, I don't.
Right.
Uh,
So is it more like you finish the story and then you look at it and you go, all right, what is this? What would a publisher uh, what can I tell a publisher, or what can I do with this, and what
I'm
genre do I need to throw out?
Yeah, I'm really thinking about who the hell would like this. And then I send it around, and sometimes it bounces back and sometimes it gets picked, but I'm not I'm not the only people I don't really have a lot of success with are the so-called literary.
Mhm.
magazines because they stick my stuff into genre, and that is
Yeah.
something they don't like
Right.
because I like a plot. I like character driven, but I want a plot. I want a beginning, a middle, and an end,
Yeah.
even if I begin with the end. But that's something that doesn't really get them going. So I haven't had any success with them. And when I began, I was very insecure about where to send, and I sent to a bunch of places that were absolutely not interested
Mhm.
in the kind of stuff I wrote, because that difference between genre and literary is still pretty
Yeah.
stiff, I
Yeah.
would say. Yeah.
And it's been like that forever, and it doesn't seem like that's ever going to change.
I,
We're kind of over here, and they don't want to look at us. They don't want to read
yeah,
our
yeah.
stuff.
And on the other hand, I was listening to another short story writer a few days ago who said that she managed to place a few crime stories with a literary magazine because they thought like, oh, this is interesting. We've never done this before.
Well,
So yeah,
yeah.
okay, it can happen.
You hope it starts to change. You hope people start
Yeah,
reading those stories and say, "Hey, we like this. We've never read this before," because we're not reading genre. We're not reading Alfred Hitchcock or Ellery Queen. We're not reading
right. Yeah,
those magazines. But now, hey, maybe those stories will work.
yeah. I can't stand. I was in a writing group a few years ago, and most of the people in that writing group were writing literary, and I was constantly chafing at where's the story?
Yeah,
Where are you going with this? What's going on? What's happening? Where do you end? What's
yeah,
going on? So I did it for a year, and then I said, this is not my stuff. I get
yeah.
bored. I get bored.
You gotta be surrounded by your people that understand
Yeah.
what you're doing and why you're doing it. I think that's really I think that's sometimes missed with groups, because I've been in groups over the years too, and it's the same thing. It's they don't they don't get it. They try to change it, like this needs to be more of this, and I'm like, no, that's not
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not my
Yeah.
style. You write your own story.
Yeah, I tried to go when I moved to Houston 28 years ago already. I went to a class, and and they asked us to bring some samples and stuff. And the story I brought at the time, I was writing science fiction. Okay, so I brought a couple of chapters of a science fiction novel, and the guy looked at me and said, "Nah, that's not good. Yeah, forget it."
Wow.
I went back home and I said to my husband, I said, I'm not going back to that place. This is not my place.
No.
These are not my people.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, and I think that's the sad part of it. So now for you, does it start with a plot? Does it start with a character, or is there a mix when you're first thinking up a story?
It's funny. Most of the time, it starts with a sentence. I mean, I have there's something popping in my head that's a line, and I'm going to give you an example. The best example I can think is something I got published early in the year for a Guilty Crime Story magazine. And there was that line that came into my head in the morning, and it said, innocence doesn't do it for me. And I had no story behind it. I had
Right.
no character. I had nothing. It just sat there for a while. And then I finally found the young guy who said that thing. And from there, the whole story came out.
Right.
So I had that line of text and then a character attached to it. And then the story came, and I rewrote the ending 5 times before
Wow.
I could figure out where it landed. And I
Right.
like it a lot, but it's pretty typical of the way I work. Or there's an image. There's another story that starts with the image of a wasp walking along the barrel of a gun that sits in an open window. And then I figured, okay, who's behind the gun?
Right.
Why is the person behind the gun? And what happened? And that's how it goes. So I'm not starting with necessarily an idea of a plot or an ending, or whatever narrative. It's images, words, sometimes a character, kid on a bicycle, finding a body on the rail tracks. I mean, those kind of things.
Right.
And that's for short stories. When it's a book, it's different.
Yeah.
Then I usually have an idea to begin with, something that's going to carry me through 2 or 3 chapters.
Yeah.
And then I feel the need to write an outline because I want to know where I'm going. But short stories, it's different.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, I mean, you need that hook, you need that first line. So if
Yeah.
you that's a big part of being published, of somebody, an editor reading that, and they got to love it from that first line. So if you have a perfect first line like that, you've
Yeah.
a lot of the work is already done.
Yeah, it doesn't happen all the time, but that's magical when it happens.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you have these words and you just can't get rid of them. Something
Yeah.
has to happen to them.
I've Post-it notes all over my desk with things that I've heard or things that I've just they just hit you at it. You pull them from the ether of certain lines, or you're watching a show. And the other night, me and my wife were watching an episode of Lowdown.
I love that show.
And so do I. And he said something, and I thought of something completely different, but it just kind of clicked. And I paused it, and my wife laughed, and I got up and I came in my office and I wrote it on a Post-it note. And we went back and she didn't even ask because she knew it was a line or it was an idea. And I actually just finished that short story this morning, and it's on that based on that line. And like you, I have no idea who says this, who these people are, what the plot is, what's going to happen here. But it was just that idea, which really sometimes propels you. That what if you have just that basic idea? What if kids on bicycles find a body on the railroad tracks? I mean, there's there's a start to something.
Yeah. And one of the things, some people say that my stuff reminds them of Ray Bradbury, which is a bit weird because I actually only started reading Ray Bradbury pretty late in life, except for the Martian Chronicles, which is not exactly inspiration. But the notion that a lot of images from your childhood suddenly pop up in your head.
Right.
So I never found a body on the rail tracks, but I know where the rail tracks are because I took
Right.
my bicycle there,
Right. Yeah.
And so you inject all that stuff in there and you create people around it.
Yeah.
And that's how the story is born. But it's pretty magical. I'm not sure exactly how it works in the end. And I don't want to know how it works.
No, that's always my thing is I just keep pulling these ideas from different places. And obviously sometimes you're out to dinner and you're eavesdropping on the conversation next to you because that's what we do as writers. But you don't want to overthink it. You don't want to, it starts here and then we go point A, point B, and boom, and we're done with stories, and we can magically knock out stories. Because I don't think, as writers, I think we need to be creative. We need to struggle through the ideas and pick and choose and do things. And I think that's also really, really important.
And nothing goes to waste.
No.
It's pretty funny. I had dinner a week ago or two, and some friends came for dinner, and we were talking, just having a couple of drinks before dinner, and the woman said, "I'm not using the crutches anymore," and I looked at her, and she wasn't limping or anything. And then she went on and she said, "Yeah, they fixed my spine." And I was just like, what the hell is she talking about? and then the next line was, "And I broke 2 legs." Now, I hadn't seen her for a year. She looked fine. I had no idea what happened.
Right.
And it was like, the story eventually came out and it made sense, but she approached it from such different directions. When we were finished with dinner and they were gone, I said to my husband, I said, this was like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
And he said to me, we need non-linear thinkers.
Yeah.
And that was incredible. And I'm probably going to put her in the story, because I was
Yeah.
kind of imagining uh, a cop. I mean, imagine the woman, okay? She's taking these things in complete reverse order,
Yeah.
and she witnesses a crime, right? And then you got a detective coming to interview her, and she responds in that apparently incoherent way. And the guy
Right.
goes, "What?" And I
Yeah.
think I got the beginning of a story right there. I mean,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
yeah.
She gave you a little bit of mysterious information in the wrong order, as
Right,
if you already knew the background on all this, and obviously you have no idea what she's talking
right,
about.
because for her, it's extremely clear. It's
Right.
all very clear in her head. And
Yeah.
she's bringing up the stuff that she thinks is the most important in the order that she thinks is most important.
Yeah.
She completely ignored. I had no idea of. She thinks we read her mind, basically.
Yeah.
And
And now I want to read
yeah,
that story from you. So
yeah,
you have to write
people
that.
I haven't written yet, but
Yeah.
this the way people tell stories is fascinating to me.
Yeah. Very, very much so. All right, I got a couple more questions for you. So for you, what are some of the horror, thriller, crime fiction? Who are some of the inspirations for you when you first started reading and you first started, writing stories?
I have a little bit of a different background than most of the people you interview, because I grew up in Europe, and I'm a native French speaker.
Hmm.
So my uh, uh, literary background is mostly reading in French. And my father read a lot of crime fiction, shelves full of them, but it was
Hmm.
all in French. And I think, and he still influences me, I think the person I read the most growing up was Georges Simenon.
Hmm.
And he was extremely productive. So I probably read, I don't know, 100, 200 of his books. And to this day, when I put a group of people around the dining room table, I start writing like Georges Simenon.
Mm.
He has an extremely clean, simple way of writing.
Oh,
It's all
okay.
atmospheric, but it's
Hmm.
not, there's no complicated words. The grammatical structures are so plain. I wouldn't say he's doing Hemingway at the same time as Hemingway, but it's um, it's that it's kind of a little flat, but everything comes out just the way he organizes it. And the insights, psychological insights, are incredible. And
Okay.
I think that's in the back of my head every time I write. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that English speaking people, English writing people read Simenon, but he has an extremely plain, minimalistic way of telling stories that
Right.
I find super inspiring.
So is it more like Pulp Fiction type of writing, where you're basically here's your characters, there's not a character arc per se. We're going to do a 5,000 word short story, and we're going to write a hundred of these.
No, no, there's an arc. There's an arc, and there's a plot, and there's a beginning and an end, but it's really it's stripped down,
Mm.
and it's the simplicity that attracts me.
Okay.
And when I'm doing an editing job, I'm guest editor for Punk Noir magazine, and I know that the story, it helps me figure out what kind of stories I really lean towards, and they're
Right.
always clean and straight, and
Right.
yeah, you can play with the structure and whatever, but they're extremely stripped down and leaned, and the stuff happens in between the lines,
Yeah.
because you don't have to put it in the words to get it to work,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
No, definitely. I love
um,
writing stories for punk noir
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
you have a condensed, hey, here's 200 words to play with, kind of thing. And I
yeah,
love that,
right,
because you strip all of the excess, all of the garbage, all the stuff, and you just here's your story, and it's not a scene. It's a story, and that
No,
took me a
it's a
long
story.
time as a
Yeah.
writer to realize that I'm not writing a scene. I still have to write, point A to point B to point C. I still have to write that 3 acts, but in 200 words or
Yeah.
100 words. I do drabbles all the time, and I love those.
Yeah. It's not my favorite length. I feel super comfortable at 2,500.
Yeah.
But I like people who are not show off in their
Yeah.
writing. I got a manuscript for somebody, sent it to me a few days ago, and I read one page and I said, "This is not for me." I mean, it was like, I don't know, you put 7 or 8 adjectives in one sentence.
Uh,
My eyes roll over. This is not my style of writing
right.
at all.
That's funny. So now, who are some of the authors out there that more people should be reading?
Well, I was thinking about that because you told me that you were going to ask me that question. So there's a fellow writer published by Shotgun Honey also, but he's also published by Rock and a Hard Place, C.W. Blackwell. Have you
Love him.
heard of him?
I got to meet him at BoucherCon this year,
Oh,
and
yeah, lucky you. I
he's
couldn't go.
wonderful.
Yeah, I
Great
mean,
writer.
his novella book, Hard Mountain Clay, is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely brilliant. And then he has that new collection called Whatever Kills the Pain.
Yeah.
It's his new short story collection. And it's brilliant. I love it. That's my kind of writing.
Yeah,
It's
me too. That's
totally
phenomenal.
character driven. It's anchored in a place. There's a location sense to it. It's
Mm-hmm.
super human, not superhuman, but super
Right.
human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Space in between. And I just loved the way he writes. It's beautiful.
Yeah. When I
Um,
met him, and also he's been on here, I've interviewed him, and I
oh, good.
said, your characters are people that the reader knows, whether you want to really know them or not.
Yeah,
These are some awful people in most of these stories that
yeah.
you've met them, or somebody who knows that that man or that woman.
Yeah, I interviewed him for my Substack a few months ago, and we were talking about how Mountain Clay, that has a story, has an incredibly evil man in it. He reminds me of, the Robert Mitchum character in Cape Fear, Max
Yeah, yeah,
Cady.
yeah,
It's that kind of guy. He walks in a room and you know that there's something hanging over him that means dread. Okay.
yeah.
And I asked him, where did you get that character? And he told me flat out, deadpan, I've met guys like that. And it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah,
That
that's
was
scary.
scary. So there's C.W. Blackwell, and then there's you probably know Nick Kolakowski
Yeah.
also, and I love his writing. He manages to put humor and black humor in everything he writes, and he just had a detective story. His first detective story coming out recently is called Where the Bones Lie,
Mhm.
and it's a lot of fun. It's a Hollywood fixer who's disgusted by the job and wants to make a living as a stand-up comic, and he's terrible. So just to start, and then he gets a
Yeah,
job as a detective, and he's bad. He's not good at all at it. He's terrible. Um, so I mean, those are people I like to read. And there's so much good stuff in indie publishing these days.
yeah.
Um, my
And
pile.
places like Punk Noir, places like Rock and a Hard Place, places like Guilty, all these places are showcasing some phenomenal authors, short stories that I
With,
immediately go, okay, what else do they have? Because I'm finding a lot of authors that I really, really like, and I jot down the name and go to the next story, and then I'll go back and I'll look them up, and either
yeah,
hey, I want to interview them, or I love this specific story, and I want to read what else do they have? Do they have a novel out? Do they have other shorts? So
yeah, and they're all. I started reading Nick when he already had books out, but C.W. Blackwell, or I mean, um, all the people that were published just pre-COVID or just at the beginning of COVID in 2020s, published by Bristol Noir, which
yeah,
is an incredible
another real good
website
one.
in
Yeah,
British
yeah,
in Bristol, obviously. I mean, you can look at everybody's been published there and you go, oh my God. I mean, you got Curtis Hippolyto there, you got Max Trax, you got a bunch of people, Stephen Golds, my editor-in-chief at Punk. I mean, all these people are brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. And that's one of the reasons I do this. I do this to meet other authors that I like and to meet other authors, then to learn about, hey, give me a list of the people because maybe I missed somebody and I want to go back and I want to read these people. And I get a lot of feedback from people watching these and they say, oh, thanks. I got another 5 people that I have to go on Amazon and look up.
Okay, I'm going to throw one more in the pot if I have a bit of time for that.
Yeah, you're good.
His name is Coy Hall.
Yeah, yeah.
You know Coy?
Yeah, yeah.
He's an amazing writer. He's a history professor. And he writes historical horror, fiction, whatever. And he jumps from one genre to the other. And everything is it's just amazing. I mean, he can take you to the Middle Ages. He can take you to the Renaissance. He can take you to 1930s America with a con artist doing seances. And it's always, it's so rich.
Yeah.
I mean, he blows my mind totally. And I wouldn't call it necessarily thriller or crime. It's unclassifiable. You can't put him in a box. He's all over the boxes.
Yeah, that's some great stuff. Well, I'm looking forward to more getting more of my stuff in punk noir in the future. Hopefully,
Right.
I already wrote for next month, whatever the.
I am the editor for November, so the call is open until October 21 or something like that.
Yeah. I think you opened a couple of days ago. I did one more pass on it this morning, so you will have that very soon. Hopefully, you will like it.
It's tough. I can tell you right away.
Oh yeah.
It's what comes in is I'm going to have a heartbreak again making choices.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Armand.
We'll have to do this again in the future.
Yeah, 20 minutes is not enough.
No.